I had terrible role models. I had just all these like asshole bro dudes that
Volumes game.
yeah. Yeah. They would have these terrible things that they would say where it's just like, yeah, women love it when you like treat them like shit. That's how you have to do it. Like that's all they want. They just want to be treated like shit.
If
And
they've
it's
got
like,
daddy issues, that's true, probably.
and I was always like, that sounds awful. I don't want to treat people like shit.
Mhm.
But the real truth behind that is that they want you to have that masculine expression of confidence of like, I'm going to tease you a little bit. I'm going to make fun of you a little bit. I'm going to find something that I know you're uncomfortable about, but not like demeaning. And I'm going to twist that a little bit. I'm going to kind of bring you out of your comfort zone in a sexual way and kind of put a little bit of spice out there. I'm going to use my masculine energy and I'm going to create that tension. I mean, for me, so like sex also has, it's like a grand opera. It has different acts. It has climaxes and low points. It has comedy and tragedy. It has all these different things. And one of the places for me when I really feel that just spiritual ecstasy is like afterwards, when you're both just like basking in like the remaining energy is it's just kind of like going out into the universe and you're just holding each other or like being in each other's presence and like drifting off into oblivion.
Yeah. Well, there has been, you know what? Like my most powerful times is there has been times where we're having sex and I get downloads from the universe. Like, do you remember when I had that download? Like,
you're like, stop everything.
No, I'd want you to keep going. Like, but you would like look up and I'd be like crying because I'm in such a deep inner spiritual experience. Like there was one time where it was like this masculine energy came and like spoke directly to me, and it was my soul's father. Like it wasn't my actual like physical dad, but it was like the father of my soul that was telling me like, you have always had me looking out for you. Like you've always had a father. Like, so shit like that. I don't know if I've experienced like exactly like the Christ consciousness stuff. I've experienced that in other places, but like that stuff like that is starting to happen to me during sex.
Excellent.
Yeah. I thought of the other thing that I was going to say.
Great. Let her rip.
And that is another thing that I had to do, and that I consciously have to do sometimes too, is to not always need to be in a certain mood to start engaging in sex. Because for me, it's the intimacy part that really does it for me. So like I can be grumpy and then I can have grumpy sex. Like I can start having sex like that. Like that, it's okay. Like grumpiness can be included in the sexual experience.
Like, come here, grumpy.
Yeah. Or I can be sad, or I can be confused, or like whatever mood I'm in, like that can be, I can have sex in that mood, and it might look different. It's might feel different, but like, yeah, but the intimacy is what matters. It's like, oh yeah, let's see what happens when I connect with Joseph when I'm like this, or when it's like this, or when we're whatever mood we're in. It doesn't always have to be like the same exact mood for me every time. So I think like taking that pressure off of it, of like, because I think for especially for a lot of women, we're like, oh yeah, we can have sex, but like we first got to get ourselves in the mood to have sex. And so it's like, okay, he wants sex, that means we've got to do some like emotional gymnastics in here to kind of get ourselves on that page. And like when I'm like, no, I don't, like, because I'm not doing any sort of emotional gymnastics for anybody else anymore, really. But what I realize is I have a lot more flexibility to connect with you in all different kind of moods, and it's still fucking great.
Yeah, that brings me kind of to another thing too, of it kind of touches back on that safety aspect of sometimes to initiate sex is a real vulnerable ask of, hey, I'm feeling lusty towards you. Is that something you'd be interested in? And for a lot of guys, there's a lot of insecurity around being rejected or being not good enough, or
of course,
all that kind of stuff. And so even if it's not with the intention of, no, I'm rejecting you, but more of a, no, that doesn't really sound like a great idea right now, it can be this really tough thing. I even had to overcome this a lot of the times, because I would be filled with a lot of rejection too in past relationships where it's like, hey, I'd like to have sex. Are you interested in that? No, I'm not. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be sad now.
And I also think sometimes people come across like, no, I'm not, and you're wrong for even wanting it. You know, like you're wrong for sometimes that is how it gets communicated, because we don't want to feel guilty for not being in the mood, for not being able to meet your needs. So we're gonna like make you wrong for having those needs.
Man, yeah, we always,
that ain't right. Don't do that.
We get stuck on our own shit, and then we just make things worse.
That's like the human condition.
That's the unconscious human condition right there. And so, yeah, it is one of those things when you tap into your energy and your partner's energy and things like that. You can always kind of tell if like, seems like there's some good energy here. Let's kind of feel this out. And you can sometimes, like, this is something you have always been really great at and really intuitive of, like, you can always kind of tell when something's up.
Yeah.
And you'll just be like, are you feeling horny right now? A lot of my parts are like, Lordy, well, now that you mention it, which is great. And like, you know, not everybody is like that. Not everybody has to be like that, because sometimes it can be a really powerful exchange of energy when it's just like, hey, I'm feeling really into you right now, or I'm feeling really horny and I want to express that with you, or like, can we have sex? Like, I'm really feeling that right now. Does that sound good? And a lot of the times when you've done that homework of creating that safety and creating that energy connection, a lot of the times that's a real fucking home run right there.
Well, and you also are pretty good at asking about it in a way. Like you just say, like, can I eat your pussy later or something? It's like that. How am I going to say no to that?
Yeah, that's always kind of fun sometimes to just kind of throw that out there, you know, just test the water. Because sometimes you can kind of do it as kind of fun and joking, and that's also that flirtiness too that's really fun, that, you know, when you're in a committed relationship and you can still flirt with each other, of just like building up that sexual tension just for kind of shits and giggles, that is a really powerful thing. So yeah, sometimes I'll just throw it out there like, hey, you're looking pretty good tonight, you know, when we go to bed, I'm gonna have to eat your pussy.
Yeah,
and you don't really have a choice.
Okay, that is so hot. Like that is the advice that I would give men, is the more direct you can be about it, the sexier it is. The more like the more you can just like go all the way and risk that rejection, like the more likely it is to get it, because it's like an icky feeling for us when a guy is like, hey, so, you know, I'm feeling a little horny, like, would it be okay if we had sex tonight? That's like, oh no. But like if you're more direct about, especially if you give me a compliment, especially like if you, not even necessarily like what I look like sure, that might be something, but like a compliment about the feminine experience that you watched me have that night. Or, you know, I'm loving watching you laugh or something, or
I love it when you cry.
Yeah, let me fucking tears later.
Yeah, your tears make me horny. Yeah. That's kind of a joke, but you know what? Give it a try. Yeah, that's the fun thing about sexual polar tension energy, you know, however you want to organize that, that is flirting. When like playing and passing that back and forth when you're not like engaged in sex, that is flirting.
Yeah.
Is really, and that's when, you know, when you can get really skillful at that and kind of play around with it and be really silly and kind of like, ooh, that was a good one. Let me see if I can kind of dish back to you. And, you know, that's always this thing that, because when I was kind of finding my way around women and stuff like that, I had terrible role models. I had just all these like asshole bro dudes that
volumes game.
Yeah. They would have these terrible things that they would say where it's just like, yeah, women love it when you like treat them like shit. That's how you have to do it. Like, that's all they want. They just want to be treated like shit.
If they've got daddy issues, that's true, probably.
And I was always like, that sounds awful. I don't want to treat people like shit. But the real truth behind that is that they want you to have that masculine expression of confidence of like, I'm going to tease you a little bit. I'm going to make fun of you a little bit. I'm going to find something that I know you're uncomfortable about, but not like demeaning. And I'm going to twist that a little bit. I'm going to kind of bring you out of your comfort zone in a sexual way and kind of put a little bit of spice out there. I'm going to use my masculine energy and I'm going to create that tension. And sometimes it can be like kind of shocking, or, you know, you really hit the home run when you can kind of say that thing and like, they get that look of just like, oh man, fucking, you got me. Yeah. And
I know.
That's when you know you're like, I got you. Hey, everybody. Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast, We really enjoy creating this content for you, and we want to share some more resources so you can get even more content. So take it away, Jordan.
That's right. If you want to follow either one of us on socials, if you want to work with either one of us, if you want access to our YouTube channel, if you want to buy our book, links to all that stuff is on our Patreon. So that is patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. Now you don't have to join Patreon to get access to those links.
But you probably should. The more that you support us and support this channel, the more that we can create this awesome content to help support you, because that's really why we do this. We want to make your guys' lives better, and your support really matters.
Yeah, and what you'll get when you join Patreon is a shout out in our next episode, and you will also get access to listener requests where you will get to request what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
So from the Heart is a Muscle podcast to you guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the feedback. We really, really enjoy it, and we'll talk to you all later.
Truly love you guys so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.